I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, September the 15th, where we're seeing a bit of a leverage switch there from your packer over to your feeder now. And I'm not saying that the packer's in trouble, but I think we may be able to gain a little bit of ground this week on your fat cattle trade, maybe as much as a couple of dollars. And that would be a big victory. I would say that steady would be the worst that we could hope for, but unless the board would happen to really tank here on Friday, and hopefully it won't. The board has been being pretty decent to the cattle business, and if we can just kind of hold things together on Friday, should be able to gain at least $1 and maybe $2. But the board on Thursday, live cattle futures, the October contract was down 62 cents to end the day at 106.92. October feeder cattle down just 2 cents at 149.60, and that's in there real tight what cattle are bringing. But your beans were up big, 15.5 cents there on the new crop, but corn was pretty quiet and not a whole lot else going on. Your fat cattle trade, a lot of us thought that it might break loose on Thursday, but just kind of guys just squaring off, and really a staring contest right now. Through Wednesday, there had been about a little over 5,000 head trade in your 5-area feeding region, which is not very much at all, but we saw our live sales run from 104 all the way up to 107.5. And the weighted average on that light trade is quite a bit better than what it was last week, with with the weighted average coming in just under 105 there. But also had some 165 trade dressed in, from Tuesday to Wednesday. But there was a report of some dress trade late Thursday at 168. That would be back up there where we were a couple of weeks ago, and that should, I would think, blend over into Friday, like I said, unless the board happens to tank on Friday, which is very possible. But if the board would hold together at all on Friday, I think we can hope for a higher fat cattle trade, and that will continue to energize this feeder market, which has really been good all through this. It really hadn't lost a whole lot of ground, and been charging on pretty good here the last couple of weeks. Your actual dressed steer weight for the week ending September the 2nd come at 890 pounds. That's 3 pounds more than the previous report, but we had that information before the board closed on Thursday, and I don't think that's going to make a big deal. Your slaughter has been pretty decent here after a holiday week. 468,000 through Thursday. That's 21,000 more than the same week a year ago. Look at your real-time index on Beef Market Central based on an 800-pound steer, 149.48. That's up 36 cents. So we've just been steady to strong on that throughout the week, and on some pretty significant receipts, big runs in all your high-volume feeder cattle auctions, and it's good that the market has held that much, because there's a lot of cattle being shipped out of these sales. You look at your big sales on Thursday, Pratt, Kansas, your government market report had 4,000 head there selling steady to $3 higher, pretty much. Really uneven, but it was a light comparison from a week ago, and a little bit up and down, and hard to tell what was going on for sure. You look at the automated market report on Beef Market Central, it showed the closer to 5,000 head on there. And in the 8-weight category, they had 1,371 steers weighed 800-900 pounds, averaging 856 and bringing 147.97. And that was $1.85 more than the same weight group last week on the weighted average there. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas, around 3,700 there, and the market looked $1 to $5 higher on your automated market report there. You look at the groups there, and the biggest group by far was the 800 pounders, just like up in Pratt. But 865 head of 8 weights averaged 847 at 150.12, and that's a pretty significant price there on a weighted average. But you look at why some of that happened there. An individual quote out of Salina just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they had 55 head of steers weighed 871 at 156.10. And if you watched the feeder flash yesterday, you would have noticed that we did pencil some cattle out there that looked like they would break even and have a little bit left over, maybe a decent little profit there on what your board is looking for early next year. These cattle here did not quite wash, but if you're throwing a lot of cattle together, you wanted to get some quality in there, you could buy this set of cattle and then maybe cheapen up with some others. Another individual quote out in the southeast there, Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky, 10 o'clock in the morning, had 76 head of steers, weighed 699 at 165.90. That's your feeder flash for Friday.